So things have been heating up in the server market as far as chips are concerned. So for years, Intel and AMD have dominated that field with the x86 and then the x86-64 chips. But now you see that things are starting to move again. One reason is energy consumption, and that makes sense if this ever happened to you. Ow! This is hot. For servers, the goal has traditionally been process more data. That came at the expense of energy. Companies have been thinking about locating data centers in places that are cold and happens to be next to, say, a power plant. That's cold enough. Let's plug it in. So of course, this is not sustainable for most embedded software, because otherwise you will end up with batteries big like this. So this is why embedded software have been using many different chips, just not the x86-64. So the interesting thing here is that in the past, these chips were clearly not as performant as the ones that were installed on servers. But the gap has started closing. So now you do have ARM servers. That's the thing. And although it's a very small part of the market, it's one that is actually growing quite rapidly. Apple has chosen to put an ARM chip in their computers. Remember that they moved away from PPC and then they moved to x86 in the past. Now they're moving to something else. Energy is a big part of it because obviously it's a big chunk of the expenses that companies running data centers have. Now, of course, the other part of the equation is that we have software availability for ARM. For example, Linux, that is running most of the world's largest computer centers, well, it's available for ARM as well. So obviously, it's doable and it's a viable solution. So is ARM going to become the default chip for servers? Well, not so fast. So first of all, I wouldn't count Intel and AMD out of the equation yet. The second thing is that there is also another architecture that is emerging that is called RISC-V or RISC-V, better at energy management. Some companies like Alibaba have invested a lot on that technology, and you can understand why, because guess what? RISC-V, it's open source. So is open source going to do to hardware what it's doing to software? So it seems to me that we have a Mexican standoff here.